The Iran hostage crisis, which lasted from 1979 to 1981, became one of the defining moments of Jimmy Carter's 4 years as President of the United States. Whether he was criticized for incompetence by some, or praised for great heroism for solving the crisis by others, it is obvious that Jimmy Carter played a key role in the Iran hostage crisis and freeing American hostages from the Iranian regime in 1981. But that was almost 40 years ago. The Iranian regime continues to conflict against the United States and continues to be more and more of a threat to America and the American way. Which is why it is crucial that we analyze the threat that Iran poses to the United States, as this could affect each and every one of us. American foreign policy is crucial to study, especially when it comes to countries that could threaten the United States. So when we look at the question, how much of a threat does Iran pose to the United States? It is clear that the answer is a major threat. And we can see this by analyzing 3 key points. First, increasing nuclear capabilities by the Iranian regime. Second, a growing and potent economy in Iran. And finally, because the Iranians have become more and more aggravated by aggressive actions from the Trump administration, we can see why the Iranian regime poses a major threat for not only President Joe Biden, but the entire country of the United States of America. The first reason that this is true is because of increasing nuclear capabilities from Iran. Now, back in 1980, under President Carter, Iran didn't have the nuclear capabilities that they have now. However, after many diplomatic actions, the United States has tried to stop Iran from having these capabilities, but it hasn't worked. According to BBC, in an article written in February of 2021, Iran continues to enrich its plutonium beyond 5%, meaning that it is building its nuclear capabilities once again. After the Iran nuclear deal, which attempted to limit Iran's nuclear capabilities, they are violating it and continuing to build more and more ballistic missiles. Ben Feinstein from the Wall Street Journal reports in March of 2021 that Iran's nuclear capabilities and ballistic missile program are becoming more and more effective and potent, a major threat for the United States. Iran has been a sworn enemy for the US and vice versa for decades. So the fact that they are building nuclear capabilities beyond anything that we've seen before should be a major concern for every American. So because of its nuclear capabilities and nuclear program, it is clear that Iran poses a major threat to the United States. Second, Iran's growing economic power. Iran has become an economic powerhouse in recent years, and their economy only continues to grow, sitting at over $500 billion in GDP in the last 2 years alone, according to an article written by the New York Times in January 2021, has put Iran in the spotlight of world economics. Also, their oil reserves. They have a major corner on the oil industry, which has contributed much to their GDP. And a Wall Street Journal article from February of 2021 analyzes that a major portion of Iran's GDP comes from the oil industry. They're a Middle Eastern nation that has many oil reserves and exports it around the world. There are so many nations that rely on the Iranian regime to get their oil, which means Iran is making more and more money. Money that they can spend towards more conflicts and military action. When an economy is good, you can spend more money on defense and military action. It's just economics. A New York Times op-ed from February of 2021 analyzes this threat in an article titled, "More Revenue Equals More Military Action for the Iranian Regime." The title says it right there. With an increased amount of revenue, Iran is able to take more military action, something that Joe Biden and the US should be extremely concerned about. Finally, Iran has become more and more aggravated by aggressive action taken from the US. Now, this action mainly comes from former President Donald Trump and his administration from 2017 to 2021, especially in early 2020, when Trump took out one of Iran's top generals, General Soleimani. Now, Soleimani was a major powerhouse in Iranian politics, but President Trump and the army took him out of the nation completely and killed him in January of 2020. This angered the Iranians to an extent that we have not seen before, and they promised strict action right away. And that happened when they fired missiles into Iraq, where U.S. troops were staying, just a few days later. It's clear that this aggravated them, but it only continued to happen. A Wall Street Journal article from December of 2020 analyzes that President Trump took out one of Iran's top scientists in December of 2020, which once again angered the Iranian regime. Now, they don't really care that Joe Biden is the president now. They see it as America taking these actions, not Donald Trump, which means they're becoming more and more aggravated. John Smith writes for NPR News in January of 2021 that it should be extremely scary to every American that Iran is becoming more aggravated. With more and more aggressive maneuvers by the Trump administration, Iran is becoming more and more angry at the United States as a whole, meaning that they are posing a major threat for the U.S. So when we analyze the question, how much of a threat does Iran play against the United States? We can see that the answer is a major threat. And we saw that this was true by analyzing 3 key points. First, an increased amount of nuclear capabilities. Second, a growing and flourishing economy. And finally, because the Iranian regime is becoming more and more aggravated, we saw that they pose a major threat to the United States. And so while President Carter was president over 40 years ago and dealt with Iran, it is still clear that the Iranian regime poses a major threat for the United States.